Hello everybody, my name is Rebekah. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be doing another episode of Cup of Zoe. Today I have Starbucks because this video was very spontaneous, didn't plan it at all. I know I say that in some of my videos, but I do like to plan my videos so that I can get all of my thoughts organized and all onto paper, and so that I don't miss anything. But I think for videos like this, I want it to be more like, I think that not planning it out would be more genuine and raw, and I think that's an important part of these type of videos. So I didn't plan this at all, but I still wanted it to be a cup of Zoe, so I didn't have time to make coffee, so I just ran out to Starbucks and got some. This is actually my new favorite drink. That's my new favorite warm drink. I've never really drank warm Starbucks drinks before, but this is the cinnamon dolce latte, and obviously I'm a vegan. I don't have dairy, so I get it with almond milk and no whipped cream, but it's still so freaking good. I highly recommend for the cooler season. If you want a good vegan Starbucks drink, it tastes really freaking good. So yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, this is gonna be a cup of Zoe, and this is going to be my update video. I said in my previous video that I had to wind up actually re-uploading because there was a part of it that my parents wanted me to edit out, which I thought was a little bit ridiculous. But they were not gonna leave me alone about it until I did it, so I just did it. Didn't feel like arguing with them about it. So yeah, sorry about that, but that's not the point. So this video, but in that video, in my last video, I said that was kind of my first video after I got back from the hospital, and I briefly said I was in the hospital for an eating disorder, and that's pretty much all I said about that. And I said that I was going to be doing this type of video, and I was going to be doing more videos about that and about mental health and stuff like that, but I didn't go too in depth with it. It was more just chatting and doing Halloween stuff. But this video is going to be the focused update video about where I've been and where I am now, and just what I know about my treatment and recovery. And I'm gonna keep continuing to update you guys through vlogs and other videos, and doing more mental health videos, and doing more creative and informational, but really important videos, because I think a lot of YouTube is just really dumb videos that are really pointless. But I want my videos to have actual content, and I want it to actually be good information to have and still be really entertaining and creative and engaging and interesting, you know, because that's the stuff you want to watch. Even if I wanted to be informational, I'm just sitting here just so this is what depression is. When you feel feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, helplessness. That would be so fucking boring. We're not gonna do that. But yeah, but I still want to make videos that are helpful to you guys and can relate to you guys while still being entertaining. So yeah, anyway, that was just a whole ramble. But so this is kind of gonna be, there's still a lot of aspects to my future treatment plans that I'm not sure of yet. We're still working on that. It's a really long, stressful, exhausting process, but I guess it's what I need according to professional mental health experts. So yeah, even though it's, like I said, it's very exhausting and it's very disappointing, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's this is what keeps happening to my dad. It's when you have a job for a very long time, and you're you're sick of it. Like, you've just been there for so long and you're not getting promoted or anything like that. You're just kind of stuck, and then you go off on all these job interviews, and they get your hopes up and you get second interviews with things, and then you do all of these interviews where you're talking about yourself and your career, and you're spending all this time and energy preparing for those, and you just get you get a false sense of hope, and then they just completely like crush it, and then you're just still stuck with that same job.
Okay, don't take it, obviously it's not equivalent, it's different problems, but I just wanted to use that analogy in a way that people could understand, you know? Like, I'm not trying to maximize my problems or minimize any of the problems of people who are struggling with getting a new job. Obviously, that's probably very stressful, but, you know, they're obviously not the same. And I think what's more frustrating with that was, like, if you do have a job and you're just trying to find new ones, at least you still have that job. But when I'm trying to find a new therapist, and I don't have a therapist as a backup, it's like makes it a lot more difficult. So I guess the analogy would be more appropriate with someone who was laid off or fired or resigned and needed to find a new job and didn't have that job as a backup plan. So I guess that would be more appropriate than someone who does have a job and is just trying to find new ones. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. They're not the same thing. Like I said, I was just using an analogy that can help people to understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, back to the video.
It's like that. It's like in the year of 2018, it's October. It's the end of October. No, this is gonna go up in November. And October was just a horrible month. I went to the hospital on September 30th. And so just the month of October was just a very difficult month that I want to move past me, and I want November to be a new month where I can grow and work on myself, and just because like October it was hard and it was really exhausting. So I just really want to start fresh in November, and that's why I wanted this to be my first post of the month of November. But anyway, where was I? Totally forget where I was. I'm probably gonna have to stop filming. This is another thing. I'm probably gonna have to stop filming this in the middle and then come back later, because I have an appointment with the dietitian at 6 o'clock and it's 5:30 now, and so we're probably gonna have to leave in like 10-15 minutes. But I just wanted to start this now and this is kind of just the intro, and also because I just got my coffee and I didn't want to have no coffee for later. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry about this, guys, but this video is just going to be a chatting video, just chatting and updating, and it's going to be super genuine and raw and just me extemporaneously speaking, which my dad says I'm pretty good at extemporaneous speaking, and I think that's a really good skill to have, and I really appreciate that compliment. It means a lot to me. But as I was saying, I forget where I was. But basically, I'm just gonna say that I'm not exactly sure. I know I started talking about this, where my treatment plan stands right now, because, oh right, I was talking about the job interview thing. So that's what it's been like for me. So like it's November by the time you see this, so it's almost the end of the year, and throughout the entire year I haven't had a real therapist, and which is really bad for where I'm at and the severity of my conditions. It's really bad that I don't have a therapist, because I've been going to like so many intake appointments for therapists and for programs and for so many different things. And I've been to like probably throughout the year, I've probably been to 10 therapists one time, and they're always like, she needs a higher level of care than we can offer, I can't help her. And then it's like, and I get that they're being straightforward and saying like she does need a higher level of care. At the same time, to me, it's just disappointing, and I think that's understandable. So I understand both sides of it, like that they need to do that right away, because I would rather that happen than having a therapist for a while and getting nothing out of it and just wasting all that time. So I get that, but it's also at the same time, I think it's understandable that it's disappointing to me, and I feel, and just the fact that it's happened so many times at this point, it's just, I feel like a lost cause at this point, which I that's a really, really unhealthy, irrational thought to think, but it's just where I'm at the moment. Today specifically was a very hard day. There were a lot of triggers today, and this is something I'm going to talk about in future videos. I understand that the world isn't going to walk around eggshells on me. Okay, that's a harsh reality. I'm super sensitive and I get easily triggered by things, but I know that the world isn't going to walk on eggshells around me. But it's still, at the same time, I think it's understandable that when I hear people talking about certain things, or when I hear certain things at school, they can, or at home, they can trigger me. Or if I see certain things, it can still trigger me. And it's very uncomfortable, and it lasts a while, that those feelings last a while, and they affect me throughout the rest of the day. And there was a lot of triggers, and it was a bad day. It was a really bad day. So I still have really, really bad days. I have days that are okay, and my dad's been a lot more supportive than he ever has been, but I still have a lot of family problems. I still have a lot of problems with my mental health, I still have problems at school and socially, and it's really hard for me right now. It's hard for me to handle. I'm very young and I'm very small, and it's a lot for me to handle. But I know that in the end, all of these horrible experiences, if I get I want to sort of say I get the really, really hard stuff. I can only say this now because I'm still at this stage and I'm still really young. I have no idea what my life is going to be like as an adult, but I'm hoping that I can get the really hard stuff out of the way first, and then the rest of my life, when I'm an adult and I have freedom and responsibilities and independence, then that can be the time where I can thrive. So addressing all of these problems at earlier in my life, I'm really hoping will mean that I can be more stable and a more rational, responsible adult. So I'm just trying to think of it optimistically, and I think you guys need to do the same. That's the healthiest thing that you can do. Because it's not gonna last forever. I mean, I can't say any of these things for sure, but I hate when people are like, it'll go away, you'll be fine, it's only temporary. Like, how the fuck do you know? Like, you're not a fucking psychic. You have no idea what my life is gonna be like in the future. You have no idea what anyone's life is gonna be like in the future. You don't know what your life is gonna be in the future. So that's bullshit. But I'm trying to say it in a hopeful way, that I'm hoping that it will be better in the future than it is now. And I think it is important to address the problems right away, because and I think this still happened to me. I did go a while where it was obvious to me, I don't know if it was obvious to anyone else, I can only speak for myself. It was obvious to me that I had problems, but I didn't like address them at all. I just let them keep getting worse. And I was like being very stubborn, and this is part of my problems. This is a problem that a lot of people have, is not accepting help, or not accepting that you need help, saying I can do it on my own, and then it just keeps getting worse. And what you're doing, you don't know what to do, and no one can expect you to know what to do, and so you just keep getting worse and spiraling down, and then you're digging in deeper, and the deeper it gets, the much more difficult it's gonna be to get out of it. So if you have a negative thought being pounded into your head, if somebody's verbally abusing you all the time and those thoughts are being pounded pounded deep into your mind, then it's going to take a lot longer, and it's going to take a lot more time, work, and energy to dig that back up and learn how to manage it. I'm not going to say throw it away, because it's not going to completely go away. I think a lot of people don't understand that things like depression and anxiety don't ever go away. They ebb and flow throughout your life, and you can learn how to control it. Hi. When do we have to go?
5 minutes?
Okay.
How about 3 minutes?
Okay. So I'm going to continue this conversation now. I'm just going to wrap this part, the beginning, up right now, and say that those problems ebb and flow throughout your life, but they're always going to be there, but you can learn how to control and manage them, and learn how to use them to your advantage. I think that's my hope. So yeah, I will continue this conversation after I get home. Hey guys, it's actually quite a bit later now, but I think the meeting with my dietitian went pretty well. It was actually the first meeting. She works a lot with adolescents, which is really good, and she's respectful of my veganism, it seems like, and she gave me a good suggestion, excuse me, on how to work in some nutrients and stuff. So yeah, I think that went pretty well. So I still don't 100% know where my therapy stands, which is very stressful. It is very stressful, and I feel like some people don't understand this, is that it's when you're out of control of your own like treatment plan. Like, think about how stressful that is, especially the fact that it's partly because I'm so young, and my parents have to deal with insurance stuff, and I don't know about any of that stuff, so I'm not always in the loop, and that is something that's been stressing me out a lot. The dietitian is all good, all set. I like her. She's in my insurance plan. The therapy part is still not 100% the word consistent, I guess. But we're working on that. We're trying, and then after we figure out, because I got a new therapist recently and I really like her, but then she's not in our insurance plan, and then it's insurance, and like, I just want to say this, like, I'm not gonna get political or whatever, because I don't know shit about politics, but I think the healthcare system in this country is ridiculous. Like I said, I don't know shit about politics, but from what I do know from the mental health treatments that I've needed to receive for my health and to be able to live and be treated and thrive, it has definitely put a strain on my family financially, which makes me feel very guilty. People with depression and eating disorders and other mental illnesses already feel an insane amount of guilt about everything.
Okay, again, just want to clarify that obviously different feelings and symptoms and signs differ for every individual person. I guess I'm just speaking I can only really speak for myself. This is my personal experience. This is definitely a pattern I've noticed amongst people with eating disorders, depression, etc. And, research I've done, and, kind of like the basic points and feelings of people with different mental illnesses. Guilt is definitely a common one. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to clarify that again, that I can only speak for myself, and this is based off of research I've done, patterns I've noticed, and my experience, and and obviously no two people are exactly the same, so just wanted to clarify that again. Okay, thanks.
And then when your family is under financial strain, because my family, we're working class people. We're not wealthy, we are not impoverished by any means, but we're not wealthy, and we're working class people, and we're trying to maintain that lifestyle, and it can be very hard when I need a lot of treatment for my health. And that financial strain causes so much guilt within me, because I already feel guilty because of my problems, and then that makes me feel guilty too. My therapists or guidance counselors or whatever, like, you shouldn't be worried about that, but it's like, you can't just tell me not to, like, I hate when people are like, calm down, like, you'll be fine. I was briefly talking about this earlier, but like, you'll be fine, and like, you shouldn't feel bad about that, you shouldn't be stressed about this. Okay, thanks for telling me that, but that's not really gonna, like, if you're gonna tell me not to be stressed about something, you really think that's gonna mean I'm not gonna be stressed about it? Like, that's not, like stress is not something you can, like, naturally, like, control, you know? It's like a feeling. Like, you have to, with therapy and treatment and stuff, you learn how to cope with it and ways to be able to maintain it and manage it, but you can't just say, I'm not going to be stressed about this, and then you won't be stressed about it, okay? I would think that would be a given, but some people don't understand that, by the way. I had to switch cups because I had to put it in the microwave. I'm probably going to need to put this back in the microwave because it's not very warm. It's also pretty late, so I probably shouldn't be drinking coffee anyway, because it's Monday and I have school tomorrow. But anyway, besides the point. But yeah, so this is kind of, okay, so where do I even begin? Like I said, I didn't plan this out, so it's like, this is all over the place, like all my videos, because I'm all over the place. My mind's all over the place. That's me and anxiety. I think I want to do some videos about like what anxiety feels like, what depression feels like, so they try to like get inside my mind and see it visually and hear it, my voice, like narrating it. So if you guys want that, like, maybe try to make it like sort of artsy, like I've seen some of those kind of videos, like what anxiety feels like. I've seen someone like running in it, with a narration and stuff like that. So I was thinking about doing stuff like that. So let me know, and then I can make it specific to adolescents, because I can only speak from an adolescent's perspective. And I think I want to make some videos about, I wanted to make a series where I challenged myself with like food rules and stuff like that, so I can increasingly make it more challenging. Like, I can start adding in more scary foods to me. Okay, I just want to even just throw in there that, like, even just like editing this, watching it back and editing this, me saying this is making me have an insane amount of anxiety. Like, even talking about like challenging these thoughts in my head, like, I'm just trying to like express the severity of these thoughts. Like, I'm so nervous to post like this specific part of the video, which might sound ridiculous to some of you, but it's like, I don't want to like say it and then like, you know, like relapse or go back on my word, or like not attempt to try to challenge them. And I don't want it to like, I don't want to be like held to it, and like, like even like just like this, what, like this specific part of the video is like, I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack about it. I'm still gonna include it in there painfully. I like don't even want to watch that ever again. For the purposes of the authenticity and the realness and the, you know, reality. But I just want to say that
like, even hearing me say that now, I guess I was really in with it. Like, I was just going with it, flowing with it when I was filming it, but now that I'm watching it now, like, editing it, I'm like, I want to cry. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
And start, like, you know, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but some common signs of anorexia include, like, isolation, especially like when you're eating, like you don't want to eat in front of people. And I can also only talk about anorexia. I don't know much about binge eating, bulimia, like any other eating disorders, because I only know what I've experienced. Okay, so I just wanted to do another like add-in, but I decided to do it on my actual camera this time. I just want to like point out and emphasize, because I didn't really say this in the video, that everybody is different, okay? There's not like, this is what the definition of anorexia is. This is what the definition of any sort of mental illness is. It varies. I was just talking about only a few. I didn't even like talk about a lot of them because I don't even know where I was like going with this. I was like all over the place because I didn't plan it out, and it was so spontaneous and extemporaneous that it was all over the place. So that's why I even like wound up talking about that. But I only named a few of the, I'm pretty sure that they are common signs of anorexia that do apply to me personally. They may not apply to someone else with anorexia. They may. So it varies, and this is only a couple of them. There's still a lot more. If you want me to do, there's tons of articles and videos about a lot of other signs and symptoms of many different eating disorders and mental illnesses. If you want me to do any of those type of videos, let me know. I'll be happy to do my research. I'm not just gonna, and all this stuff is based off of things I've heard from professionals and research. It's not just shit I'm making up, and I'm also speaking from my perspective, kind of having the mentality, treat people the way you want to be treated, you know. I want to think about it in a way, I want to be approached. I want to approach other people the way I want to be approached, you know, like, but I just wanted to emphasize those points. So yeah, okay, back to the video, and I hope you enjoy it. So, you know, like, I don't like to eat with people or in front of people. Until recently, because I had to, I never ate at school. Like, I would eat maybe I would eat a snack, but like before, like recently, which I still don't eat large meals at school. I probably never will. But I hadn't eaten food really at school since like elementary school, because I don't know, like even before the eating disorder, it's just like I've never wanted to. And then when I started developing the eating disorder, a large part of it would be self-consciousness. And, you know, food rituals and hiding food and comparing yourself to others a lot. I was talking, okay, so signs of anorexia. Oh, I don't even know. I'm like losing track. I'm like losing my mind, guys. Okay, I was watching some of the footage back, and now I know where I was. Because I was talking about adolescence, and I can make it specific to adolescence because I can only speak from an adolescent's perspective. And then I started talking about signs of an eating disorder, and what I wanted to talk about was periods. As you guys know, I did that period video, which turned out to be a pretty successful video. I'm very happy with that. A lot of you, it got pretty much all of a positive feedback, so I'm glad about that. I did a lot of research, but that period that I had in January, and I got mine like a month before I turned 15, was my only period in my entire life. I was almost 15. It is now November, and I haven't had one since January. And that is obviously, when you first get your period, it's going to be irregular. That's just what happens most of the time. but it was also because of my eating disorder. Eating disorders affect your menstrual cycle if you're a female. Yeah, it's scary, and that is definitely, I obviously told the dietitian that, and she's like, yeah, you gotta get that back, because she was talking about a lot about, like, it's a lot of science stuff, even though science is typically boring, like at school, like this kind of stuff, it's actually kind of interesting to hear her talk about. The dietitians at the hospital were very boring. It was like brutal. It was like biology class, but actually the dietitian I worked with tonight, she is actually kind of interesting to learn about. But also kind of scary, you know, which is also part of the thing. Sometimes you gotta scare people into treating themselves. Yeah, that's definitely something they did when I was being admitted into the hospital. So them scaring me, saying that you're at risk for organ and kidney failure. Like, if you don't get this fixed, then you could die. And that when I was getting evaluated at another program before she said I needed to go into the hospital, I almost started crying, like, when she was telling me this stuff, and I was like, ugh, it's so scary. Yeah. So don't let yourself get to that point. I don't want to get specific in numbers here just yet, but what I wanted to say how I got up to this point. I've always struggled with food my entire life. I've briefly talked about this before, and even if you watch my first video ever, my random facts about me, I even say in it, I don't eat any fruits and vegetables at all.
I am an extremely picky eater. I barely eat anything. I don't eat fruits or vegetables, or like, there's so many other things that I don't eat. I eat like 5 things and that's it. And I'm really trying to try new things. But, you know, I just don't like food. I don't know. Some people love food. Some people eat food all day long. I don't like food and I don't eat a lot. Yeah.
Because the first 11-12 years of my life, I ate horribly. Like, I didn't eat a lot of food, and what I did eat was what my mom likes to call the kids menu diet, where I ate chicken fingers, french fries, pizza, pasta, like very, very limited options, no fruits or vegetables or anything. So that was a very unhealthy diet, but I wasn't eating like a lot of it, so I wasn't like obese, and I'm also a naturally small person. Then I shifted when I was probably 12 and a half, 13. I started getting more self-conscious about my body and stuff like that, and I wanted to be a little bit more healthier, but more healthier. Then I started restricting a little bit, but it was like, I was so young, so I didn't really like understand what I was doing, sort of. Like, I barely even remember it. Like, I'm like, I'll be 16 in like 3 months, and I'm like, I barely like remember when I was that young, because so much is, you know, like when so much has happened and I'm so young. So like the past 3-4 years when I've been really bad, and that is it's a good portion of my life, and a lot of stuff's happened in that time, so I barely even remember back then. But all I know is that I've struggled with food my entire life, and then I had a therapist about it when I was 12. I had a therapist for, I don't know if she diagnosed me with anorexia. I think what they diagnosed me with was this eating disorder called ARFID, which is avoidant restricted food intake disorder, and it's a little bit different. I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to give any false information. But I struggled with that for a little bit. Then I went vegetarian for a month. Then I went vegan. I felt a lot better. I was eating a good amount of food. When I was vegan, I used to eat really, really healthy, and then like a year and a half ago, I started eating really unhealthy vegan stuff, and then I started eating more healthier and more healthier again. And then I started, and then that brings us sort of like, I know that I made that very vague in that time, but like I said, I barely even remember the specifics of it. I was doing well for a bit. I was still, you know, I still had my struggles. I still had my distortions and stuff. And I've always had mental health struggles. And then at the beginning of the summer, around June, summer is a trigger in and of itself. I started like not really eating much. And it was completely unintentionally. I just wasn't thinking about it at all. I was avoiding it. I was just doing things where I wasn't thinking about eating. I was just trying to live my life. And then, you know, as you start not being able, not eating as much, your stomach's gonna shrink. My stomach shrunk, and then my appetite got very small because my stomach was so small that it filled up very quickly, so I couldn't really eat much without feeling uncomfortable, and I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. So I was eating very little. I wasn't counting my calories, so I can't give you a number of that, but it was very little. And then and even in a couple of my vlogs, I got comments saying like, are you eating? I was getting text messages saying you look sick, and I couldn't see it at all. I couldn't see it at all. I had no idea what they were talking about. I was very aware that I was losing weight in between June and August. I'm not ready to tell you the exact number, but it was a significant amount of weight loss in that 3-month period. And like I said, completely unintentionally, I just wasn't eating during the day. I did my film classes for half the summer, for 6 weeks, towards the end of June, towards the beginning of August. In that time, I wasn't eating during the day. I would eat breakfast in the morning. I would eat a little bit of breakfast in the morning. I would go on the train, go to my film classes, get home at like 4:30, and then that's when I would eat my first meal. We had lunchtime. I just didn't want to eat anything during that time. And because like I said, at school, any sort of classes, any sort of programs or camps, I just don't want to eat. I like to eat at home. I don't even eat in restaurants that often. I'm starting to more. It's part of the challenges I'm sort of making for myself, and the challenges that I know my therapist wants me to start eating snacks with her as a challenge to eat with someone else. But lately I've been I went to this cafe twice with my dad because it's a totally vegan cafe and they make delicious sandwiches. And I actually went out with my dad and ate in public, and I was proud of myself for that. But I'm just jumping around the timeline. Oh my god, I'm sorry guys. It's almost 9 o'clock, and this is also a difficult subject for me to talk about. Yeah, so that's how I led up to that point, and I was trying to get into some partial hospitalization programs, which I went to once, not for eating disorders. It was for other stuff. It was for anxiety, depression, suicide. I talked about it before. I don't want to talk about it again. But I was trying to get to a partial program for an eating disorder, and they said I wasn't qualified for it because my BMI was too low. And so I had to go into the hospital right away. Like, I had an evaluation for a partial program on Friday. I was admitted to the hospital on Sunday. It was very quick. It was very jarring. It was stressful. My first night there, I got there on Sunday around dinner time. Like, it was my first meal. I ate none of my first meal when I was there because I was like I was so out of it, and they said it was one of the hardest transitions they've ever seen. I think I freaked out on that night. I cried, I screamed, I called my parents and begged them to get me. Like, it was terrible. I had to be with there was a lot of problems with this facility, this program. I'm not going to get into it because I don't even want to get into that in public. But the one therapist they had on call that night had to stay with me for about 2.5 hours because I was just crying and begging to get out of there because it was awful. Like, they locked my phone in a drawer and I had limited access to the outside world. Like, there were hardly any adolescents there. There were a lot of older people. I was living with all these people, and it was just like the food was like, what are they feeding me? It was below disgusting hospital food. It was just a horrible situation for me, and it was a very, very hard transition for me. I got better throughout. I still hated it there. I don't think there are people who do get attached to hospitals and then they get addicted to treatments. And I didn't want to get to that point at all, which I'm glad that I didn't. I did eventually get used to it, and I was sad to leave some of them because, like, I'm living with them 24/7. And it was a little bit strange. When I first got home, it was also very jarring to come home. But yeah, and then I came home, and now I'm working on my treatment plans and all of that stuff, and I'm still struggling. I'm still probably not eating the amount of food I should be, but I think it's significantly more than I was before I went to the hospital. As much as I hated the hospital, I hated the program, I hated the food was gross. It did sort of make my appetite come back a little bit. And then recently, a couple years ago, and I even showed it in vlogs, a couple years ago, I was really into exercise, and I felt really good about exercising, and I felt really good about my body and myself. And then I got really depressed and completely unmotivated, and I just stopped exercising. I would just, instead of exercising as a coping mechanism, I would cut myself, I would cry, I would isolate myself, I would not eat, very unhealthy things, very unhealthy ways to cope with it. I would not want to talk to anyone. I would get into fights with my family. I would lash out at people who did nothing wrong, and it was just very bad, and I still do those things. But now that I've gotten back into exercising, and don't worry guys, I know that excessive exercising, it can be a huge problem with specifically anorexics. That wasn't my problem, obviously, because I wasn't exercising at all because I was so depressed. But don't worry, I'm not excessively exercising at all. And that's not me just trying to justify it. That's not my eating disorder mind. That's my rational mind saying that I'm not. I'm not doing a lot of cardio because they suggested I didn't do a lot of cardio. I'm doing more strength training. I'm doing like ab exercises and like leg strengthening exercises and very light weights. And I'm building up my strength again. And so, something else I wanted to add. I was talking about the dietitian and on the sciencey part she was talking about, and I was talking about the periods, and she was talking about how my estrogen's really low and my blood pressure's really low, and especially in the hospital. So basically, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but from what I've researched online, that a normal range of pulse rate or heart rate is 60 to 100 beats per minute, and mine was at about 130 every day. It was very bad. It was because of stress and dehydration and probably other things. And then as I was talking about with the period thing, and she said that I'm I'm very low. My blood pressure is really low, so my estrogen's really low, and that's why, and my organs aren't functioning properly, and that's why I haven't been getting my periods. And then when my estrogen is really low, then I'm gonna lose bone density, and then my bones can become very brittle when I'm older. And then there's just all these things that I'm like, you don't think about until a professional has to say, look, this is what's gonna happen to you if you let this pattern continue. So I'm trying to make sure I'm hydrated. I'm trying to listen to the professionals. I'm trying to make more healthy personal choices, even though it's hard, because a lot of the reason why, like, I did say at first, it was completely unintentional. I just wasn't thinking about eating, but then it started, I was like, once I lost the weight, I was terrified of gaining it back. I was terrified of gaining weight. And then I was just happy with the pattern I was in with the restricting. And where was I going with this? I don't even remember. And then I started, especially after I got to the hospital, and that's part of the reason why I left the hospital, is because I was learning more bad food patterns from these people talking about theirs. And I became more conscious of my body. I became more, like, distorted and negative after I left the hospital. Where was I going with this? I don't know, guys, I'm sorry. And I still I'm scared of trying new foods and eating certain amounts of food. I still have a very irrational part of my mind. I still do slip up. I still do compare myself to others. Today was a really rough day, partly because, as I was talking about earlier, I know the world's not going to walk on eggshells around me, but when I hear people talking about, like, the fact that they don't eat breakfast, and the fact that, like, I haven't eaten anything all day, and all I've had is coffee today, all I've had is water today, and then I've eaten more than that. I did eat breakfast, and they didn't, and then they talk about that, and then I feel so self-conscious, and I cry, and then I restrict. And it's, this is me just venting, genuinely. Like, this is so hard for me to talk about. Like, when therapists or dietitians ask me what I eat, it's so difficult for me to talk about. I'm not ready to talk about what specifically I eat yet. I'm not ready to show me eating yet. I'm not doing any mukbangs anytime soon. But I don't know. This is so all over the place, guys. I'm really sorry about that. But it's just me venting. And yeah, this is good for me to get this all out, and for me to look back on in the future once I have made progress. So there's probably a lot of other points I missed, but this video is obviously really long, and
yeah, there were definitely some other points that I missed, like that I even noticed when I was just editing it, but it's okay. My channel's not going anywhere. I still have plenty of opportunities to make new videos, so stay tuned, subscribe, and you'll see some more. Not even just about this stuff, but a lot of things. I like to be versatile, so yeah.
I'm tired, and I want to go work out now because I'm inspired now. I got a punching bag. I love boxing. I used to do kickboxing. I used to do classes during the summer, last summer, not this past summer, but the summer before that, I think. Yeah, and I loved it, so we got a boxing bag, and then I've been loving doing the boxing workouts and doing ab workouts and stuff. So I'm gonna do some of that. It makes me feel better about my body and about myself, and you know, if you didn't know, when you exercise, you release endorphins, which are like happy hormones. They're hormones that your body releases, which make you feel good. So that's exercising to a reasonable amount, not excessively, is definitely a positive coping mechanism. I want to do some more videos about different coping mechanisms for different areas and different types of coping mechanisms for different problems. So yeah, but also I think this hospital experience really opened my family's eyes to how they were impacting me, because me constantly telling them like what the approach you're taking is wrong, they kind of disregard that because I'm a stupid child, I don't know anything, right? I'm crazy, so what I say isn't valid. I mean, at least that's how I'm interpreting it. That's definitely probably a very extreme way to interpret it, but that's me, that's part of my problems. So the way I'm interpreting it is that they think that my statements are invalid because I'm so young and inexperienced and stupid. But because part of the program was family therapy, and my family therapist saw the way specifically my mother, was acting, the way that they were approaching, the way that she saw this little glimpse into what my family looks like. No wonder I have problems. Like, so I think, and my family therapist said it to my parents straight, like, this is not the way you should be approaching this. No, you need to fix this. You need to get family therapy. You two need, to my parents, you two need to get couples counseling. Like, stuff like this. And I'm like, thank you for like confirming that I'm not just insane. Like, I think if I'm trying to be optimistic and take what I can out of this, I think the hospitalization program definitely expanded my appetite a little bit more than it was before, because it was so small before. And they were having me eat a lot of food, and obviously because I needed to gain weight, they had me eat a lot of food. And it also opened my family's eyes, saying that your daughter's in the hospital because she has problems that need to be fixed, and part of those problems are her environment, which need to be fixed. So definitely my parents are definitely going to look into family therapy, thank the fucking Lord. But even though, like, I am terrified of family therapy, because every time my mother is in therapy with me, with my therapist, or even the freaking dietitian tonight, we always wind up fighting. So therapy can be a very painful thing. You will have to talk about things that you really don't want to, that you have suppressed, that make you very emotional to talk about, that are so difficult for you to talk about, but it's necessary. It's necessary for your health, your well-being, your happiness, and your future progress in treatment and recovery, or just overall health for the rest of your life. So yeah, therapy can be painful, but it's necessary. You know what? Even if your problems aren't that severe, therapy still is necessary, in my opinion. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna end this video here. If you want more stuff like what I talked about, let me know. If you want another part to this, even though I know this is very long, I just have a lot of thoughts going on in my head. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell, and share this video at my channel to those you think might be interested, and leave me comments down below. So yeah, just make sure that you're respectful and sensitive and appropriate in the comments. Give me suggestions on future videos regarding this, or whatever you want. Just share your thoughts in a respectful manner, if you wouldn't mind. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Love you. Bye.